Hey, I just finished school counseling and we talked about what my last video was about, what led to me going into the hospital, and how it's a really complex situation because, I feel a lot of shame and guilt because looking back, I could see the behaviors that were listed that led to what happening, but I didn't have the insight um, in the moment to recognize I was behaving in a way that was being harmful or inappropriate. And I blame myself because it's like, why didn't I know better? Why didn't I do better? And it's it's really hard to live with this. And one of the things we did, there's this song called Hope Panon. I don't know. But she played it. It was kind of corny. It was a song about forgiveness, based on a book that it's about like self-forgiveness. But while she was playing it, I visualized myself in my childhood home and in my room, and like the aesthetic of my room was what it looked like when I think I was like 11 to like 14, 15. I'm not sure. And I was like hiding in bed, not hiding, I was like crying in bed, like under the covers. And I'm pretty sure it was like after abuse had taken place. And I think the reason I went back there is because I had a lot of the same self-blame, guilt, shame, hating myself, feeling like I was responsible. And my therapist at school talked about how like the reason I went back there was because the power, sorry, someone's just walking. The power of like what happened to me then, like basically my power was taken from me, and I still struggled to feel powerless in a lot of things. So one of the things that happened was regarding like attendance and punctuality, and and I thought about how my peer worker and my therapist kind of touched on the same theme, where it's like self-sabotage, in the sense where like, I always think that there's an outside source that makes me late, not like literally where it's like there's some fucking like prankster in the sky fucking my life up, but in the sense where I'm late because I'm not doing well, or I'm late because I stayed all night because I took my meds too late, or I'm late because the hot water was out in my shower and I had to take a cold shower and it took even longer. Like, there's always a reason why I'm late that's external from what's in my own control. And I feel that powerlessness and my sense of agency because of the abuse that took place as a child. And I think that's all true, and I know this is not the point, but it kind of makes me feel shameful because it's like, fuck, like I really do blame everything else for my problems instead of just thinking like, no, like I have every power in my, like I have everything in my abilities, I have all the power in the world to go somewhere on time, be there on time, be there every day, be consistent. And it was like, my therapist at school called it like a wake-up call. She said, this is probably, and she's like, I don't know if this is the right word to use or if it's okay for me to use it, but it seems like it was like a really hard wake-up call. And a lot of that was true. And just processing it, and like also like she said, my therapist was like, it doesn't seem like this was all entirely like your fault. It seems like there was opportunities where people around you could have, like people who were like in the role to have done this, like given me feedback to mediate these concerns and correct these behaviors in myself, instead of just finding out like very abruptly that what happened like happened and then it was just done and over with. And I struggle with that, like feeling like, this is all based on my own behaviors and it should all be my fault, like I'm blaming myself, and it's always my fault, and I'm the one to blame, and I'm the problem. And I think that stems from shame and self-hatred, of course. And it's just hard to think that, like, something that meant so much to me is just gone, and I lost the opportunity because of ultimately things that I did, and I can own that I did them. And I wish I just done better. And I'm sorry I'm not saying what happened. And it's probably really like, just fucking say what happened. But I'm trying to learn that I don't need to have all my business out there. And I'd rather not say what happened. So you're gonna have to deal with the little crumbs of details. But yeah, I wanted to share about that because I thought about how, again, like I said, like going back to like that adolescent version of myself, that piece of consciousness that's still within me. Because whether you believe in like dissociative identity disorder, fragmented consciousness, alternate states of identity, or not, a kind of leading theory right now is like parts theory. So, or having inner versions of yourself, like who you were when you were 9 years old, 2 years old, 4 years old. All those versions of yourself are still in you. So somewhere inside of my mind and body, whether that's a fragmented piece of consciousness that still holds its own like separate sense of being, or just a memory of myself from being an adolescent, there's a piece of me that still feels shame, and like all the harm that I did is like my fault, but not in a sense where like I could take accountability and I can learn from it and move on, but in a sense where I feel powerless, and that I like deserve it. Like I deserve to feel anguish. I deserve to feel shame. I deserve all the hardships that I experienced. And I think it's a part of healing that I need to do. And I have like some concepts of art that I want to do in my mind to like talk about this process. And like when I'm thinking of like a theme of like gravity, because my therapist was like, it seems like you're moving towards healing, but there's these forces, that shame, that traumatized pieces of myself that are pulling me back to that feeling of helplessness, powerlessness, shame, guilt, and it's pulling you back there. And until you process that and you heal from it, and you give it the space and the grace and the recognition and the love that it deserves, every time something like this happens, it's going to pull you back to that version of yourself, or that emotional reality, that emotional experience. So yeah, it's funny how like there's so much more healing than you realize, or that I realized that I even needed. In ways that I wouldn't even thought about. But yeah, that's just what I wanted to talk about. So thanks for watching. Toodaloo.